I think everything is gonna work, but I don't know. I don't know. We never know. As always. Well, Gordon, I hope you're good. I hope your Tuesday was good. Always. The dates. I don't know. We have some teeny tiny news. I have made some teeny tiny changes to the app. We have, as the title explain or says, the app has been rejected by Apple, which is really good. Or at least it is really good news for me, so that I know what I can work on. I don't know. I mean, they haven't responded to my message just yet, so maybe soon. But yeah, that is the current situation. We have some updates, which is pretty good. We have some additional stuff coming in, and we'll see when there could be a release. I'm expecting. I mean, I was expecting the end of the week, kinda like mid-months. Sounded really good, but based on the reply from Apple, I don't know. We'll see. Um, but yeah, that's where we are today. Not too much. Not too much. I have a bit of an issue with the charging section from my phone, which is kind of bad. But here is where we are right at this instant. We have new stuff regarding one specific feature, which is the layering feature in the app, which is really good. Obviously biased, but right now I added this section at the in the middle, which is like, what is your base? So based on what we had before, it was taking the last worn perfume that you had in your collection and then just saying, um, like, based on that as a base, you can have these three layering options. And so now what I'm giving you as an option is here are here is the entire collection that you have, and then you can select something from said collection. And let's say you like this one, and it's gonna generate some layering options based on that base. So that's the new addition. It's better than before. It's a bit wordy. That's the thing that I'm kind of working on. Like these three texts are kind of massive, specifically when you're looking at them on a 13 mini, as always. The small screen have well, small screen, so the four line in the center is becoming like a 5 to 6 line kind of thing, and that's no good. So, you know, that is something to think about, and I need to rephrase stuff, but that's where we are. I think it's pretty good. Also added some additional checking and security and other things for the admin section. Not that it could have been tampered with in any way, but just, um, for now, I have something that is a bit more secure than what it's supposed to be. So, yeah. One of the things that is pissing me off though is the fact that I need to check the purchase flow, and I can't. Because if I do so, because the app is a one-time payment situation, I would end up with the app and not being able to get it in the free tier to check how things are going to be displayed and so on. So, yeah, not the best thing, but we'll see. But yeah, that is the current situation. There has been some news about Twitch again, which are interesting but not necessarily good. And there has been other news about the thing that I talked about on Monday regarding the multi-watching. Apparently, the multi-watching is capped at 5 stream. People were saying 2 streams. Apparently, 5 stream was the cap already. But it's just they are doubling down on telling everyone exactly how much it is. So that's a new thing. I don't know if I trust it, but that's something. Grizz, what got it? How are you? How's the day going? Um, how's everything? It's B, but that was expected. So yeah, that's good. Yaron, hi. What on it? I was expecting to get rejected by Apple on the first go for sure. Um, and it's just like they are missing, or they were asking some confirmation questions like, do you really use the weather kit? And I was like, yeah. Are you really using the location? Yeah. That's it. So I replied to them. I haven't had like a reply back from my reply, obviously. But yeah, so technically it is valid-ish and everything was good. But so far I just, needed to just confirm stuff. I'm probably gonna have to confirm the prices because they do that every time, and also going to have to confirm the privacy policy or um, the support email thing because they used to do that as well. So once that happens, it's gonna be fine. But yeah, nothing, at least from their reply and things, nothing breaking, which is good. Um, but yeah. Um, I haven't seen that, but I've seen that it just announce coming soon E the new MacBook Pros, which I doubt, you know, will do anything. But yeah, I mean, I don't think. Hmm. Yeah, no, I don't think this should happen. I do understand for phones, like I mean, it depends. If the charging port is a USB-C as an option, like the one that we have today, plus the MagSafe as an option as well, and they are just giving us um, a MagSafe to USB-C cable, I wouldn't be against it because we all have bricks most of the times. So, there's that. But eh, I don't know. That's interesting. Again, for phones, I really don't have an issue with them not giving us like a charger. Um, I do realize that this one had a charger with it, and the charger is well, this one didn't have a charger. I forgot. I think it did. I think I threw it away. Um, but like most of my phones, latest phones, didn't have a charger in the box because I've had chargers for the past 20 years, kind of. So, yeah, for phone, it makes sense to not have it. For computer, not giving a charger or a brick makes no sense to me. Mainly because the probability that user already have a phone and therefore already have a charger and therefore already have the the means to do things is making sense. The ability and the certainty that the user would have a computer already that is a Mac and that is chargeable, like that already has a charging brick that is not like a pin charger, like a tube thing, like the old kind of laptops that we have, that is less likely, at least in my view. So I don't think this will happen, but maybe it will. Maybe it will. If it does, it does, and that's fine. But yeah, the only thing that I would say is if um if it doesn't come with it, that's the announcement for the M5. God dang. Uh, Veromos, hi, welcome on in on YouTube. How are you? Who are you? How did you find the stream? um That's crazy though. That's cheap. Sorry. Um, that that's cheap for for this thing. So, as always, as always. So, okay, the 14-inch is the only one that has the M5 chip as a pre-order situation. So that's interesting. Uh, and it started 16, 17, or 16, 18, 2000. And so, yeah, that's interesting. If you're looking for Figma live stream, welcome in. If you have any Figma questions, feel free to ask, as always, on YouTube. No worries about that. Um, I am a Figma teacher, not editor, but teacher. I've been teaching Figma for the past, I mean, since 2018, roughly. So, yeah, I have some things. If you have questions, feel free to go through. Let's take the most expensive one. As always, we're gonna see if the update nano textures, 32 gigs, 1 TB is enough. The power brick is in there. You change it if you want it to be the USB-C, the 96 watts. Cybersect, hi, welcome on in. How are you? But it is coming in. Um, so yeah, that's crazy though. I mean, it is just the M5 base level. So, you know, that that's a thing. However, I'm currently on the US and not on the French one. So let's check the French. Why check the French? Ah, yeah. The French one are saying no. Hmm, interesting. Um, and they're asking $65 for the 70 watts, which we already have, but that makes no sense. Uh, that's wild though. Let me let me check though, because bitch. Sorry. I need to check as well. So cool. It's coming in Japan as well. So again, if I'm buying devices, I'm gonna buy them in Japan just because it's so much cheaper. But yeah. When you say the running text on Figma, what do you mean by that? Because there is plenty of options, plenty of things. What do you mean by running text? Because text is the T on your keyboard, which by the way, I should turn that on, but you know, um, yeah. I lived in Japan for a bit, so my phone is the iPhone 15 Pro that I bought in Japan, and therefore it is $480 cheaper than if I bought it here in France. So yeah. Um, Measy, hi, welcome on in. Good afternoon to you too. Now the running text on Figma design. I have a hard time understanding the question, and you said logo. Um, Congrats on lending. I don't know why you don't have the chat messages that tells me that you landed anymore. That pissed me off. I need to fix that. Um, No, you can. That's the thing. I mean, you can't when you are in Japan. Again, this one is the one that I have bought in Japan. It doesn't make the sound anymore now that I'm in France. Like it was doing it for the first months ish. And then since then, since some of the updates, it has been changed, and now it doesn't do any of the sounds for um, anything. So yeah, are you talking about the thing that is on the website, Vero, or are you talking about something else? I'm not gonna. That's not gonna work. I'm gonna need that. Everything they have right now is just Figma Make, which is kind of crazy, but it's not really because of region change because my phone is still in Japan. Like my store is still the Japanese store and everything is still Japan related. Like I'm paying in yen when I'm paying for stuff, which is cheaper for everything. So my uh, subscriptions are cheaper. Kinda. But yeah. Uh, dang. Okay. So this is running logo is an interesting name, but that's not the name that we use usually. So good. Now I know that some people can call that running logo. Cool. We call that ticker sometimes, or we call that credentials, potentially like companies, partners, whatever thing. It doesn't really matter as long as people can understand, you'd be good. If you want to do that in in Figma, it's kind of simple, but it's not necessarily the good thing to do. But you know, uh, it's it's yeah, it is. I mean, we call it a ticker, but it depends. Don't worry about it. So let's say you have uh, your logos. I'm gonna do that really simply, right? Very square logos here and there um, in a an array. So all of these are going to be my logos in the ticker in the thing. It depends on the day, Mizzy. Depends on the day. I like both. I don't care. That's what happened. Um, and you have this inside of an auto layout frame, and I'm just gonna use the 5 here for now. And I'm gonna clip this content and then create a secondary option, which is not a good idea to be honest. God damn. So from here, also let me just turn that on because that's kind of necessary for you. Thank you, appreciate it. So that you have my keys, the keys that I'm pressing at the same time. So I'm going to create a component out of this. Let me zoom in as well on the UI so that you have everything. So this is now a component. I'm going to create a variant of said component. It's going to be the same thing, but instead of having the alignment in my auto layout frame to be on the left, I'm just going to put it on the right. And so for the sake of checking in the argument right now, I'm going to check these two and make them red so that you can see that this number is going to move. What's going to happen is from this one in the prototype section to this one, not on click, but simply after a delay of 0 for a specific amount of time, I want this thing to smart animate, right, in a linear fashion, and I'm going to use that at 1200 millisecond, 1200 millisecond, because it makes sense. And then once I'm reaching this point, once we are there, I want to go back after the delay of 0, not in a linear fashion. I want that to be instant so that it just snaps. So we will see something happen that is with the red dot right there. Um, and technically I should also just have this as red just for, you know, the sake of stuff. But um, let me just do that. 1 second. It doesn't look like much right now. So if I take this and I'm putting it inside of a frame right about here, let's put that with a white background. If I start to prototype right now, this thing specifically is going to move across very fast. And at the instant where the last, so that's very, very fast, but at the instant where the last red dot is reaching the end, it's automatically going back. You can see there is a bit of a single frame of lag at one point. And that basically just comes from the instant transition. The 0 millisecond thing is what kind of broken. But yeah, in order to get this a bit better, I'm going to say 3,200 is going to be pretty. That's not what I wanted to do. It's going to be slower and a bit better. But that's a smooth linear transition that goes through all of my logos and, be good with it. So if that's what you're trying to achieve, that's one way to do it inside of Figma directly. However, it doesn't make any sense to have this made inside of Figma because, well, it's a lot of work for nothing. When what happens when you are building things like you're building a website and you end up with the need for this, and let's say you're using Framer for your website, you will have these things happens, and these tickers are like native elements inside of Framer, inside of Webflow, probably inside of Figma site soon. Using Figma Make is going to be something as well, but you just have to give the logos that you have and it will create the ticker for you without you to have to do all of the thinking. So that's like, again, a lot of work inside of Figma for something that is automatically already existing inside of the platform that you would probably use for your website, unless you are building it for like from scratch, in which case that happens. But if you are just simply making the thing for the devs to understand that there is like a ticker something in a website, in a view. Cat, hi, welcome in. How are you? How's the day going? I would highly recommend you to get something like I'm gonna use that as a reference, just reference. If I have this, and that's my reference for the page that I'm building, and therefore there is the ticker right here, my ability as the designer to just add something and say this is a sticker, this is going to slide across the view, and so the dev just know that this is something. This is easily achievable by adding an annotation. So you just use the Y component or the Y element. You bring it here and you just say, on this thing, uh, you do that so that your dev will know that this is going to move horizontally and that's a smooth animation through the entire thing. And therefore you're good. And you don't have to do all the work that I just did to show you how it could be done inside of Figma. It's just like, it's there. It's an option. It's working. So, yeah, highly recommend you to just use that instead of anything else because, you know, makes more sense. It makes more sense. Um, that's not a good thing, Kat. Not a good thing. Indeed. But yeah, if you have more questions about Figma, feel free to ask as always. I am here to help. Who is using the bandwidth on videos? Is it you, bitch, or you, bitch? No, I don't know. You? No. So yeah, Grace, that's a weird thing. Um, it's weird that it's available in the US and Japan, but not in France and probably like Italy and so on. It's probably the same thing. Um, hmm. But then again, this is like the base model M5. I'm currently on the M1 Max. Yes, that's it, Max. And I need a change. But yeah, if they release like the M5 Max and M5 Pro and so on, I might potentially consider. But it's a big ass might. Probably won't. Um, uh, that's twice my rent. Not much. Stream is going okay for now. We have this that is new that is potentially interesting for you, Kat. Um, Not really because you don't have an iPhone yet, but in the layering section, I now added the ability to, or for you to check and select something. Genie, hi, what the fuck are you doing on YouTube? Welcome in. So you can check your base instead of, just the last one that you wore. You can just have there and say, well, I'm looking for a layering option for tomorrow because I know that I'm probably gonna have like aesthetic vanilla for the day that's I'm planning ahead, whatever. And maybe checking layering options on that thing. And so I can say that the interesting was all design and pretty interesting based on how I know how it behave and so on. Then just check it out. That's a nice mushroom. Like it's pretty useful. But yeah. Um, it's pretty nice. I think it's a nice overall feature and it gonna help. I'm also gonna limit me and my dumbass, you know. Um, I appreciate it, Genie. Uh, I'm gonna put these bottom two, in the paid tier, I think, just because I need reasons to make people buy stuff. Uh, but yeah, that's the feature from yesterday, which is much better. And then um, I changed some of the systems as well for how the app is calculating what I count as a wear. So when you are wearing when you are wearing a perfume, it used to just count as +1, and that's it. And now it's counting as +1 plus or minus zero point 0.5 milliliters of perfume in the bottle. So if you had like a sample, a 2 milliliter sample, we count it as roughly 4 wears, 3 to 4 wears. And so if you are heavy on the trigger, it goes faster. But if you're like me and you just don't go through much, it's like 5 wears for these. Um, then it's it's fine. It's a pretty useful thing. So now it's going to be linked to it, which is much better, and it's also way simpler. I had something that was calculating the milliliters inside of it, and yeah, I was doing a me thing again. I was making it more complex than it needs to be. So yeah, uh, so that's the current situation. It's pretty good. It's good addition, and Apple rejected the app, which is good because they gave me no information. I mean, they did give me some information, but like the information they gave me is just like, "Are you sure?" type of thing. So they send me uh, their reply, and their reply is basically like, "Does the app include any of the weather kit functionality?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's why it's in the app." And then after that, they were like, "Does the app use the location functionality?" I was like, "Yeah, that's why it's in the app." So I just replied and I said, "Yes, we are using this, this, and that in these quadrants of the app, which is pretty simple and useful." And now I'm just waiting for them to reply. But so far they haven't gave me anything, and also they have gave me like not wrong button screenshots, but these screenshots are not giving me any real information, or at least they are not telling me what the screenshot is supposed to be linked to. So I don't know. Also, I'm seeing that they have the paid tier, and I don't know how. And I'm hoping they did it like manually. They went through the settings and they bought the paid tier. Um, because otherwise that means that when you are launching the app for the first time, you are getting the paid tier for free, which is not good. Which is not supposed to happen, but we never know. We never know, but maybe it's just like the Apple testing things. They are just giving paid tier for everything so that the testers can have full preview of the app. I don't know, but it's interesting. So yeah, um, yes, it's. I mean, specifically because they look like nothing, and there is no. I mean, there is nothing. There's nothing in there to just uh, give me a reason. So yeah, I'm just hoping that this is going to be enough for them to just say, "Oh yeah, cool, cool." Because their question is basically like, "Does the app include any weather kit functionality?" I'm like, "Yeah." I gave them a diagram because last time they pissed me off with not understanding basic diagrams or basic text. So I said, "We're using weather kit and location right here and right there." Good. Good. Also, this one was so shit, by the way, for people that are into perfume. I hated this thing. Uh, like, like really, really didn't like this. I don't know exactly how I can explain it. and like explain what I thought about it and why it's so bad. But there is something about it that is really not my vibe. Like the pattern is supposed to be good. Like it's green and ambery and woody, which is my type of stuff. And the notes are on paper good, but goddamn was it bad. So, you know, I'm happy I put it in the never again section. It I don't have much in there, but I do have some of it. I have too many already. Going back to the discussion we had last time, right? The fact that I have on my own been into perfume for like a year and a half, let's say 2 years, but really actively 4 years, and I'm already in the past 3 months that I've been working on this app at almost 80 perfume tested and owned. I need to calm down because this is expensive. I don't, this is bad. This is really bad. See, that's a small detail. Small detail. But yeah, I had to do some weird ass stuff for the store as well. I had to go with, or they wanted me to get the iPad screenshot, and I hate them because I don't have a choice. But we have some iPad screenshot now. I reuse the same things, same exact screenshots, and yeah. The thing with the perfume to test, and one of the reason why I don't want that in the app as well, I thought about it. I might do that at some point. I don't know. Um, but it's for me, the to test is usually going to be things that are either just coming out or not there yet. Um, Stony, hi, welcome on in. Welcome back. It's it means that it's stuff that I don't have in the database, and therefore I would need to have that added to the database instead. So, yeah. Did you see the thing that I sent you, Stony? Because that's an interesting thing. If you haven't seen, if you haven't been on YouTube today, or if you are not from the A/B test that I'm apparently included in, this is the new YouTube um, navigation stuff, which is pretty interesting. Um, Specifically, like how it behave on the volume. The volume is behaving exactly like Stony has done the volume on his side, which is pretty interesting as well. So yeah, you know, uh, for my phone, oh, I don't think I can do that. That does indeed um, look like a virus. The big ass red button. Still, I'm gonna remain on this thing. It makes me laugh every time I open Discord. So that's how things work. Kaneki, hi, welcome in. How are you? How's the day going? Do you really want me to download this thing? God damn. Might be harmful, they say. Uh, where's this thing gonna be though? It's gonna be my question. Let me check. Probably gonna be in the download section, obviously. But where's that on this phone? Uh, well, you're not gonna be happy. I don't know if you can see this, but it's um it's not working. It's not working. So yeah, package info is no, it's kind of wild though. But it's not. I mean, the info is no, but the package itself is like 43 megabytes. So that means that you have something in there that is just not related to the info, I think. But also, you should be able to just, um, render stuff. God damn it. Ah, yeah, but that's the same thing. Same thing. So, that's what happens when you ask me to test stuff. Apparently I need to do something for 1 second on this one. I doubt. It's the same. So that's 1.6. It did work. I just think that it's not compatible with this phone specifically. Because this phone is not running very well. It's a very like Android 9 thing. So yeah. Um so that might be the situation, right? Uh so yeah, that's the reason. This is Android 9. It's the only phone I can test. So you're good. You can't hack me. Good. Mm. Yeah, that's gonna be the thing. That is gonna be the thing. Um, and you say your day is not as good as my glasses, Kaneki? That's kind of sad. I mean, I appreciate it, but that's kind of sad. Why? What happened? What happened? We have that news, Grizz. I'm still on that fucking news in my head. Like this makes no sense to me. The fact that they are removing the fucking brick in Europe makes no sense. For those of you who haven't seen this, apparently the Apple M5 newest generation, which is about to drop soon, is is delivering without a charging port or a charging brick. So that makes no sense. Again, for a computer, um, like Yeah. I don't think this is a. I mean, and the fact that they say you can add one only if you customize the display memory or storage. Like if I go with the 32, I can then add a power brick. Um, so that's uh that's crazy to me, but it's interesting. At least it's interesting to see. Um, but again, we just checked, so it's not the case in the US. It's not the case in Japan. So if you are someone that is outside of the EU, you will not have this issue, which is good. But goddamn, good thing that I have like my own um, charging brick already for this Mac, which is the same fucking brick. But goddamn, goddamn. Um, so yeah. Why does it need to be injections though? Okay. You might be able to get this. Not recommending anything, but that's what I have. This one is for my heart, so you know. Ah, yeah, I see. That's a fair point. That is a fair point, though. Not gonna, not gonna complain about that one. Um, yeah, the fact that the port is there, right? The charging port is right there. That makes no sense. So I mean, to me, I think um, it, no, not display, bitch. That's not. Sorry. Where are the accessory? Acce- There. This one is neat, but it's also like only 40 watts and not the 60 that the Mac is requiring. But like if the Mac was coming with this, as I was saying earlier, if it didn't have the brick itself, but had this, I would be fine with it. Like just give me the fucking cable because I have like a charging brick that is already powerful enough to give the Mac enough power, but I might not have the cable based on MagSafe because that's the most important thing. And so just by giving me this, I'd be okay with not having the brick in the fucking case. I'd be fine with that. Which is probably what I would do if I were to buy the newest one in France. We'll avoid that. But yeah. So I hate that this one is the only one that is like black and the rest is white. So yeah. Specifically this. Like the MagSafe is one of the mhm, best charging feature of Apple's devices. The fact that you can have that and not really care if you are tangled with it, if it's just like putting it the wrong way, it's always the right way. You can't really break the thing because it's magnetic. And it's a braided cable, which is kind of bad of a braided cable, but it's okay. And you can have it in blue. Sorry, in pale blue. You know, I like that. That's neat. That's a nice thing. But Yeah, just give me this. Just give me this and nothing else. Bad Cop, hi, welcome back. How are you? How is the Minecraft server things that I wasn't part of, obviously? Good? Good. That's all we need. It was a while ago, but you haven't been here since then. Hmm? Can see my hair now, like, further down. It happened. That's good. That is good. We're currently looking at the apparent news that Apple is releasing a new device that when you buy it in Japan, it comes with a charging brick. When you buy it in France, it doesn't. So they removed it from the phone, and now they are removing the charging brick from the computers. That's crazy. And apparently not even giving me the cable in the French version. So I I'm surprised. It's so expensive. Sorry. Yeah, a folding computer. Knox, hi, what got it? All we need, specifically for me, good scan, specifically for me, on this machine, the only thing that I actually need is um, 2 more ports. I just want 2 more USB-Cs. And that's it. Like if we go into, you know what? Let me, bitch, let me translate that. Um, in the fucking, where you at? Here. You have 3 Thunderbolt 4 ports. I just need 6. If I mean, that's, I just need 6. I just need, um, yeah, no, I need 1 more. That's it. I just need 1 more. I need 1 for my Stream Deck, and 1 for my mic, 1 for my camera, and 1 for the internet, in wired internet. And that's the one that I'm missing. And since now I'm using the prompter, I'm needing 1 for the prompter as well, but it's not like a necessary thing. So with simply 1 more, instead of 3, you give me 4, I would be okay with it. Not good, but okay with it. So, goddamn. I don't think they would go portless, even though I think it would be good. Terracon, hi, we're calling. Yeah, there are USB hubs, and that's why I have one. I'm using one right now. But goddamn, what a pain. What a pain. Um, mm-hmm. I mean, again, technically speaking, the MacBook Pro is already a wireless charging computer. Like that port right there is a magnetic port, so it's not like I mean, it is still wired, but it is wireless. It's magnetic, and so I would be fine if Apple just decided to make everything MagSafe for all of uh their ports. I would be absolutely fine with it if they found a way to just have MagSafe type for USB-Cs. I'd be okay with it.
Props_TV rated my stream with 29 viewers.
Props, welcome on in. PTZ, welcome on in. How was the stream? All of that. For those of you who don't know me, hi, I'm AOA. I'm the helping designer, so if you have any design question, as always, feel free to ask. We are currently crying about the fact that Apple is removing the charging brick from the Macs. The MacBook Pros in France are gonna remove the charging bricks from the box. So, yeah, that's wild. But welcome on in. I hope your stream was good. As always, if you're ready to run, you know the drill. It works. It's an option. If you want to share things that you've been working on in chat, do that as well. And if you want to rate and stay, appreciate it. Appreciate it. Welcome on in. Ah, you worked on regex. I heard regex and regex, and for me, it's the same thing as GIF or GIF, as in regular expression, regular expression. So regex, but yeah, I've heard someone say regex, and I was like, ugh. So I understand. Understand. Um, yeah. Yeah, same. Absolutely same. So yeah, we're just crying about this. That's what happens right now. The fact that if I'm on the French website right now, it is telling me that I don't have um this. And then if I go on my Japanese website, which is the same website, but same thing, uh, it's coming with it. It's right there. So yeah, yeah. The M5 Mac, sorry, the M5 MacBook Pros have been announced today or yesterday, but today. Not much, by the way. They just sent a tweet and it was just something like a coming soon, and that's it. So yeah, it is an EU thing. So that's the thing. If you're in the EU, you are not going to get a fucking charting brick unless you decide to add some stuff. Let me give you some English in there so that you can read. That's useful at times. Um, and so here, if I decided to say, well, I need this thing to be 32 gigs of RAM, I can then add a $65 charging brick if necessary. So yeah, I wouldn't go M5. As someone that is already on the M1 Max, I would go into the M5 Max or the M4 Max to keep that like GPU thing linked to it. But yeah, um, that's That's the thing. Um, for the shift thing, by the way, um, I I get it. I also understand why the creator said it's GIF and not GIF, and it makes sense. Like a giraffe is a GI, and therefore, because you are reading the word semantically, it can work. There is a lot of uh, things that we are reading. Like I forgot the name. There is a name for this, and I forgot the name as always because that's me. Where you have a sequence of letters and you are reading like a word, even though they are just acronyms. GIF makes sense because of how you would read these letters together in a real word. But yeah, Morton, hi, welcome back. How are you? How have you been? How's everything? But yeah, that's the news. We don't have benchmark yet, or at least as far as I'm aware, I haven't seen benchmarks just yet. So yeah. Um, but then again, as mentioned, uh, this is the M5 base level, nothing in there, nothing interesting. So I'm waiting for either the M5 Pro or M5 Max to be announced to potentially upgrade. And then on the alternative things, I'm also a 16-inch person because that's my only screen. So yeah, have a good look. I appreciate it. So yeah. Yeah, not even. Like it's the base level stuff, and if you make it like 32 gigs, or even if you just give it like 24, um, it's not it's not that expensive. I would say the base level, the M5 base right here, which doesn't really change much, was just 16 gigs and uh, half a terabyte of SSD. It's fine, right? Like you just get enough memory to do your things, and for 18, it's pretty okay. It's not the best, but it's pretty okay. It's way cheaper in the US. It's $200 less expensive, which is interesting. But yeah, um, I mean for the French, I would go um, English International US, or I mean English International because it just makes more sense. The one that I have right now is a French keyboard, but my regular keyboard is US, like English International. It makes more sense for me now. But I'm fine with anything. I don't type much. Still, not a dev. Still not a dev. Mm-mm. Mm. But yeah, again, technically, I don't care about the fact that it doesn't have a charging brick because I have one. But I'm just thinking about someone that is uh, coming from, I don't know, Surface Pro. One of these things, and that just wants to upgrade to a MacBook Pro for some reason. That, that is going to be like they need a fucking charger. So they need to basically add $65 for the charger to be integrated with this. Eh, it's that's the only thing. That's the only reason why I'm like, ah, that's kind of shitty. For phones, I don't really care because you probably had a phone before, probably. If not, your dad or your mom probably had a phone before to give to you when you got your first phone, depending on how old you are. And based on now, most phones, if not all phones, are just USB-C charging. So whatever charging adapter you can find, it will charge your phone. Not necessarily the fastest, but it will charge your phone. Whereas here, that's basically what they're saying. You can still charge with the USB-C, which is what I'm doing right now on my Mac, but it's also like kind of, um, eh, 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 you know, not the best. But then again, yeah, the Anchor thing that I have right now is not a power bank, it's one of the docks. So we end up with stuff that are like uh, more interesting, but what the fuck are they though? They the one that I have is basically one of these two, um, so that I can have wired internet. Eh, is it like on page two? God damn, it's not even here. Doesn't exist anymore, apparently. But yeah, this is doing power as well, so you know. But the regular stuff from Anchor in terms of charging bricks, like these ones, are really good. I have one. I think I have this one in Japan. No, this one is bigger. I have one of these charting bricks in Japan that are just waiting for me to come back. And at some point, we'll be fine. I have this one. This one is the 65 watts that would basically charge uh, the MacBook Pro with no issues with these ones. And basically, this is $30, you know? Um, and if you want it to be Apple-like, eh, it's fine. They do have a bigger one. They have like 100-watt charging. I think this one is the same size, and it's 120 watts. So it's smaller, way smaller than the Apple one for sure. For sure. Ah, as you can tell, it is smaller. That's the regular one. Yeah, the 140, we don't see it anymore. The only thing that I do like about the Apple brick, obviously, um, do I have mine here? No, no. Um, is this. I just love this thing and the fact that you can just get one of these if you're someone that travels often or often enough. You can just get that, and because the charging brick itself can just be added. Can we have like a preview? No. Can just be added directly to the things, right? It's that simple. It's supposed to be that simple, and obviously when you are looking at something, it just doesn't go through. But because that teeny tiny part on whatever charging ports you have can be slide out of the brick itself, and then you can exchange the prongs for whatever you need, it just makes so much more sense. And this is the best option because it is retractable. Um, like you can That's the Japanese version. They slide. I like that. So it makes everything even more compact than expected. Um, but that's the only thing that is good about it, and the fact that you don't need to like buy an adapter. You need to buy these tiny things, but I have so many now. I have mine from the one that I bought in Japan, so I have the official Japanese one, and I have the ones from the travel kit as well. And therefore, if I'm traveling to the UK, for example, I'm just gonna take the adapter piece and be good and have like my entire thing done without issues. Whereas here, I the anchor charger that I have is Japan only, or US as well, because it's kind of the same prongs. And then I'm can't do anything about it. But yeah, it's okay. It's okay though. It's gonna be fine. Gonna be fine. We're gonna all find something. Also, that's almost $90. A bit less, though. But that's crazy. Um, that is crazy. Anyways, Ika, Ika, E- I guess Ika. I don't know. Work on it. The thing that is I think interesting about the 120, no, it's the 96. The Apple Charger 96 has two ports, or there is one that has two ports, which is pretty interesting. The 140 doesn't have anything, and I don't know what it's charging specifically for the Mac. It makes no sense. So, yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. Um, I don't think people would need like more than 100 watts. And even then, 100 watts, I don't think it's a good idea for your devices. Specifically because when you are doing these, you are usually taking like your phone and your Mac and your laptop and your whatever else you have, and you just put that on the same charger. So you're just frying the battery every time, which is appreciated, you know, appreciated. So yeah. Um, mhm. So that's interesting. But yeah, we'll see where that goes and how things goes in the future. But yeah, we have some sad side news for today. If you haven't seen the announcement, Atom has released Stream Suite or Stream Suite, depending on how you want to pronounce it, French or not. And this is a new thing that they have been building. I have tried it and it broke my OBS, so I had to uninstall it. But what does it do? Or what's the benefit of it? You have your OBS, and with StreamSuite, it gives you access to a ton of things, including multi-streaming, multi-chats inside of OBS directly, alerts, and something that I do feel is pretty useful is that section right here, which is not looking like this on the version that I had on macOS. It's looking kind of shit on macOS, to be honest. But you have something that basically gives you a tab for going live and a tab for building. Like this thing right here, which is absolutely a pixel. And sorry, Miss O'Greggles, for the pixelated face. This is live and this is build. So if you are in the build phase and you're just making your stream overlay, you are making your content and making sure that everything is there, you just go into build stuff. It doesn't have the chat, it doesn't have anything that is related to, you know, um, going live. But then you declutter the interface to just have the live version, which helps you monitor your entire interface, which is really cool. So that concept is really nice. Also, Cookie, hi, welcome in. How are you? How's the day going? So that's a good thing. You have the activity section, which is absolutely pixelated right now, where you would know exactly what happens, where it happens, if you have like a subscriber on YouTube, a follower on Twitch, gift bombs, and so on. That's pretty cool. The chat is combined for you, so not necessarily for everyone else, but it's combined for you, so you can see like your chat on YouTube, your chat on Kick, your chat on Twitch at the same time in the same tray, which is really, really good. You can send messages to everyone at once. So that is really interesting and really neat. I do think that most of the things that are in there are really good. It just broke so bad for me on macOS that I had to install it. But I think it is good. Um, it broke OBS to me as a macOS user, but it didn't break OBS. It broke OBS layout. Like I just had to uninstall the plugin and then I was done and good, and no issues linked to it. So that I would say maybe test it out. I don't know. The thing that they have done though, and the thing that they now have here is that there is a setup wizards that I can't see because I'm not on Windows. And you have the ability to run this on a portable version of OBS on the side. So if you wanted to, you could clone your current install of everything and just place it on the same folder or somewhere else, and just have um, that on a portable version. But yeah, it's kind of sad that it broke for me because I do think that it's pretty useful and pretty good. It's just the issue that I had was when I was switching from tab live to tab build, the docs were not following through and not reorganizing themselves probably or properly and so on. So that's why, um, yeah. And yes, the Twitch app, at least on Android, is broken for sure. Like for me right now, it is absolutely broken. That's really sad. I wish it wasn't. I wish it wasn't. But yeah, I think it's a Mac. So IK, EK, IK. I don't know. Um, I think it's a Mac OS issue. That's the first thing. The fact that I'm running Mac OS beta version is a second thing that is also very probable. Um, it is in beta, and as they told me, it will be buggy, and they are testing on Windows most of the time. So, you know, lots of variables that go into the direction of, oh yeah, that's the reason why it's broken. It makes sense. It makes sense. So I will see when that happens, when we have the updates. But yeah, that's I think that's a good product. I think it's gonna be pretty useful. And the only thing that I'm expecting them to release at some point is a stream element alternative. Like, I'm not saying that this will happen. I don't know. I don't have insider information about that, but that's the thing that that's the vision that I have for them. Right now, they are just building every piece of software that basically are necessary in order to go live, do automations, and so on. So you can create the automation for the alerts, but you can't create the alerts themselves. So if they had like something that was like Stream Element to build your browser source, but directly inside of OBS or directly inside of a secondary app that you would have on your computer, and then have that as I don't know, an overlay or something else would be really, really good. And that's the only thing that I'm expecting them to go into potentially, maybe at some point. I don't know. But we'll see. The other thing that I have like a bit of an issue with, or not an issue with, but like doubts, is the fact that Dust is the creator, but I think Dust is now not involved anymore, or at least not as much as before. There's a lot of things where I think he has a full-time job for some fucking reason. So that's, you know, it happens. Um, but yeah, we'll see when I have more news. But yeah, so that's the side news thingy. Stony, what did you give me? Interesting home screen. Very tall screen. Uh, yeah, no, I'm not shaming Dust for not having or for having a job. I'm shaming Dust for building something really cool and then not being involved in the thing that they have built as much, or at least as uh, prominently that they were. So yeah, um, yeah, no, I get it. Specifically for what he's getting paid, I think. That's an interesting. I don't know why you are giving me all of the the longest screenshot that you could give me. That is crazy. Also, you couldn't, not get into the titties. Like you could have avoided the titties. Um, but no, he didn't. He didn't avoid the titties. Of course. Of course. Placement be good. I think overall it's pretty nice. Most of these are aligned properly. There might be like a bit of an issue for me and my designer ass brain for the spacing in between the horizontal space right there, right? And the vertical space in between the bottom of the album and the top of the album. Um, and I'm not saying that it should be smaller here. I might be saying that it should be bigger in the horizontal, but that's also like already big. Yeah, so I don't know. Not really, it doesn't really matter, but it's fine. So these are pretty good on the first message. If that is your skeleton loading screen, that's pretty nice. Um, so yeah. Um, good. This one is fine. Nothing to say. This one is fine as well. Nothing to say. You have everything loaded, and that's debatable, but fine. And then you have these two, which is using the native player there, and the lyrics, which is good, and the player there. I thought you fixed it. I thought you fixed it. Goddamn. That side is good. I don't really understand why. Why? Yeah, I don't. Yeah, why Rages be different? That. Why? Why Rages be different? Be different. I'm seeing something. Um, I'm seeing some things that you will, as you say, you will go back in polish at some point. Um, there is a need for the alignments to be aligned. Like the favorite here needs to be kind of visually aligned with the rest of the icons. The pose is almost aligned, but not necessarily. The hashtag or the number is not centered with the icon itself. So what I've done on the Figma file directly is if I can scroll. Oh god damn. If I remember correctly, and now that I'm not remembering, I feel like I haven't. But what I have here is a container that will always have its content in the center, and it's wider than it needs to be in case we have 100 songs. I think that was the reason. Like I just said, if we have like 100 songs, as always, eight is the fattest number most of the times. Um, but yeah, you end up with enough space to display the number value for the song, and you also have enough space to display like icons if necessary, or buttons or things. So that's the way that I've built them, in provision for these types of things, to also make sure that they are kind of aligned with the icons that needs to be atop, and so on. But yeah, going back to what I said earlier on Monday, it is my fault though that this icon wasn't necessarily aligned with this icon. Like it just didn't really make a lot of sense, but it is. So yeah, that's the thing. Did I did? No, I didn't. Yeah, so this one is short by 2 pixels. Not anymore. But yeah, like that was the idea, that was the concept, and the reason why I had like these alignments, which should be good. Again, because these are like buttons, they are supposed to be exactly aligned based on how they are set up. So you should be okay. You should be okay, Cookie. Welcome on in. Chatting. Um, yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure. If you have a link, please share the link. If you're ready for that. I'm willing. I am willing. So yeah, other than that, Stony, I think you did a pretty good job, as always. Like everything is pretty much well aligned. Things are taking the right colors. Content is good. You know, all of that. All of that. I have a feeling that something in here is playing somewhere. So yeah. On the list we're doing, or the image things that we saw a second ago, is No Mercy, which is this. So yeah, that's where we are. All right. So interesting background stuff, but fine. As always, I'm gonna go through the regular things, right? Um, I'm going through the website first, and then um, I'm gonna give you some feedbacks. So yeah. Yes, Plagueis could be easier to use than No Mercy for sure. It's just the reason why No Mercy existed because Plex wasn't to the taste of Stony, which is what the creator of No Mercy. And he just wanted something new. So now we have something that is like self-hosted and better and so on. I feel like I've seen something very, very similar to this not so long ago, with a different name in a different color scheme. And maybe that was the exact same thing. I feel like it is the exact same thing. I think it was Dan. Cookie, I feel like we've seen your website before. Uh, yes, we did. and you change some stuff. I write in AI assisted Swift. Yes, for myself. Stoney is doing React. No, that yeah, I forgot. And now the basics. Um, .eu is crazy. Mm-hmm. Mm. Why not? Why not take the space? We have the space. Why not take the space? If it's not necessary, it doesn't really matter to have and take the space. But yeah, I mean, overall, it's working. You have some issues when it comes to the overall like alignments uh, of color schemes and alignments of like some of the contents, but overall, it is really good. Like there is nothing really jarring from my point of view that you absolutely need to go through and change stuff. Like it's pretty fine. When I'm talking about alignment, I'm basically talking about these things where you have that amount of space on the side and that amount of space at the top. Like that makes absolutely no sense. You could 100% just get your content right here to instead of having the padding top and bottom, which is or margin top and bottom. I don't know exactly where it is. Is that the thing? Yeah, that's the thing. Uh, Bitch, it's somewhere. It is somewhere in there. Right there, like that immediately. Better. Not much, but just it's not the best option, but um that's already you have something that is a bit more aligned to the content itself, and therefore you have more space for potentially the chats. So that's a good thing. These cards are okay. Obviously, this is broken now for no reason. Nothing happened. Um, so there's that. The other thing that I'm seeing personally, but that's like obviously a me thing, that's not readable. Like you can't see the search bar in the slightest. And then the contrast ratio here is it passes, but it's weird. People are expecting white on white, like white on blue backgrounds, white text on blue backgrounds rather than black text on blue backgrounds. I know contrast ratio is wrong and weird, but it's just it would be better here, at least from my point of view. These things are working. The design is okay. Like your grid is good. You have the right amount of space around things. And it's the same for all of the pages, so you don't really have anything to think about. Like it's one of the things, but um, yeah. Um, yeah, that's the same issue. That's the same issue. This is not like necessarily accessible for the sake of what it is. In terms of readability, that's going to be kind of hard to see. Let me just check something. You do have something with light mode being available, apparently, where your light mode is gonna, or native light mode is gonna give you some more contrast ratio, which I'm expecting the fact that, nope, not that, the fact that here, like that search is gonna be visible more, but now my three dot button is not as visible as it used to be. So, like there is a bit of a constraints, god damn, that was French, um, regarding your light mode and dark mode to be switched, that's for sure. Same thing for the cards at the bottom. And then you have a ton of things, but it's a dashboard. So in a way, I feel like it makes sense. Um, most of the cards are okay. Most of the things are working. Most of the layout is good. Um, but yeah. What do you mean? Me? No. There? No. There? Ah, yeah, no, that. Uh, apparently. Yeah. It's interesting. Yeah. That's not even the browser. That's Mac OS. It's not browser based. This is just the system that is saying, oh, yeah, this is something. It's just this view right here uh, that is giving me that because of that player. That's what happens. I mean, it's flexible. That works. I'm not complaining about it. I am. Um, but yeah, no. Other than what is the obvious to me, which is not the obvious to you, obviously, it's pretty good. Uh, it's working. You have most of the things properly aligned, properly placed, and properly set up, so you don't really, have too much to work with. And it's to me, it's a matter of spacing and alignment. So, like these things, for example, where the white text is on top of the button, that makes sense. Which is probably the same thing on the blue text the blue button that I was talking about earlier. And right now, it's just not, yeah. Yeah, that happens to Stony as well on Monday. And we don't really know why the latest version of the drop game has bounce. It happens. So for here, for the same thing, like if you didn't have the card itself on that thing, you would end up with something that is a bit better in the alignment itself. And so this thing could be not a card. Like if that wasn't a card or a card content, you would end up with something that is a bit better in terms of your padding and your alignment and so on. And you know, um, it makes sense. Let me see if I can find the thing. I'm guessing it's the same fucking padding block right there. Yeah. Even then, even this is wrong to me. The recommendation recommendation is going to be good. The recommendation that we have had done in the past is card stuff as much as you want, right? So you put things in cards so that you have your user that have the understanding of where things are and what is the delimitation of the elements. So for your search bar right here and then your selection, you could technically not have a card and just have that bar as a divider section so that you have your search bar going from side to side and your tabs going from side to side as well. So you get more width and so on. That's a thing that you could do if you wanted to. These things are much better now that they don't have the top and bottom alignment thingy, and then here you have some issues, but that makes sense. All of this so far, again, that's broken, is working and is pretty good, except when I'm changing the CSS, it's just, broken. But layout wise, you are kind of good. UI wise, you are kind of good as well. There are some issues with the colors and the spacings and so on. But once you fix that by making sure that the spacing is assigned to specific elements and not all of the elements, which is your case right now, you should be good. And again, going to the previous thing of you are currently using Tailwind for this, so you are kind of, or you should be able to go really, really fast on this in terms of changing stuff. Um, that might be a bit of a Christmas tree based on the colors and the fact that these two are shorter than the others. Same thing as these two. Not that it matters, but maybe it does. If you can, you know. Also, that's weird. The fact that it's just going into two lines for the text above, and therefore it's fine. And debatable. But if that's a thing, I would make sure that all of my cards have the same height, even though there would be like a bit of white space underneath these, and these. I'm kind of fine with it. Like a max height for the card and or min height, max height things. So yeah, Carol, hi, welcome on in, welcome back. So that's the things overall. Again, going back, it's pretty okay. Like, you know, um, I don't know. I mean, it's Twitch. You're asking about Twitch. That's how things happen. Um, you have stuff though. You have things that just I can see, and I'm saying that as a negative thing, and I don't know how you can't see that as someone that is building the thing, other than the fact that you are inside of this website all day, every day. Therefore, probably if you are the one that is building the UI in the front end, it makes sense. But um, why are we not centered? Come on. Why why are we not aligned? Like why these two lines are not in the same, same height? It's just it's not much. It's just making sure that your logo and your divider is aligned with your nav bar at the top. Always. Just 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 4 pixel. It's just like it's not much. But yeah, other than that, you're pretty good. Um, there might be things here and there that are kind of tiny, and it depends on your user base. So if you go back to some of the things that we have said in the past, your user base is or are the people that will basically direct the layout and UI choices that needs to happen in the app. So you as the designer or the front end person, you will go through things and do your best to have something that works for you and for the teams and so on. But ultimately, the users are the one that will say, well, this needs to change because I can't really understand or I don't see things or, whatever. If you know that your current user base is older people, people that need glasses, um, a specific type of target audience, and so on, there might be things that you need to change in order to accommodate for that. One of the things that I've seen lately is a lot of websites are going with uh, bigger content. So going at 125% zoom for the website as me presenting it to you, but also like on a daily basis, seem to affect a lot of people. And I've done these tests before, and a lot of people are really receptive to just having the content a bit bigger than expected. So just 25% bigger on everything seems to help. And like that not simply means, but that basically simply means that instead of having if you are using RAMs, your 1 RAM equals 16, you now have your 1 RAM equal 18. And that will just bump everything by 25%, and you'd be good. You'd be fine with it. I mean, not necessarily 18, probably just 20. That's 25%. But yeah, like that's a thing that you can just change really quickly and have your entire website be a tad bigger and a tad more accessible because people will look at things and have like be the bigger cues when they're watching the things. But yeah, no, overall, things are pretty good. Things are pretty good. I would say make sure that your light mode, dark mode switch native uh, is properly placed, right? The fact that this is changing doesn't make a lot of sense, but the button here is good. Um, yes. I think we looked at the website before, and now we're looking at the dashboard, which is different. But it's also still interesting to see like how different things are and not necessarily working. So, you know, it happens. It happens. Um, yeah, I mean, it is important to think about the audience. Like again, I have a bias on this one. I don't even know if this works today. It doesn't. Um, bitch, why did you do that? People that are learning Japanese, there is a very specific cast of people that are currently learning Japanese. And you can expect them to be not necessarily the people that will say things as clearly as others, if that makes any sense. So I'm making sure here on the app that most of the things, when necessary, are not the tiniest of reading uh, values. I want the things to be readable. I want to make sure that when you are inside of a dictionary, you can still read everything because you're on your phone, it's closer to your face and so on, right? I'm not using the smallest thing. I think this is like above the regular body text situation um, because it just makes sense. If you're looking at the latest app that I'm building, Prefume, I'm having a ton of very, very tiny things. There is a lot of very small text that is absolutely not accessible for most people. The reason for this is that the perfume enthusiast people are used to go into reading extremely tiny text on the labels of the perfume bottles. And so that is something to think about when you're building something. When you're building your app and so on, right? You want your text to be readable for most people, but like for small details because it touch a very specific target. You can go with smaller values just because they are used to go through looking at, you know, a bit from further away. So that makes sense. So, you know, small stuff based on the target audience, you might be able to um, change stuff in terms of sizes. But yeah, for me, 125% has been really good on user testing in the previous company that I was working at when we had like physical user testing or video conference user testing, and I was showcasing the same design in version A at 100% and version B at 125% without saying anything, and starting with one or the other. The response from the user base has always been, oh, the bigger one seems a bit more accessible, and I also saw that they were like not looking for things and just finding things immediately, whereas the 100% they had a bit of a what the fuck is this thing kind of a situation when I was asking question of like, can you create a new project? Yeah, I can, but I forgot where it is. And on the 125, they were like, oh yeah, it's the plus is right there in the center of the fucking screen. It makes sense. I'm gonna click on that. So, you know, like sometimes, sometimes useful, sometimes not. Depends on you decide. But um, yeah, the thing that Kat just said as well is pretty important. Some people have screen zoom, and screen zoom will um, like break your layout, but you can make sure that it doesn't break as much based on, you know, use cases and so on. But yeah, that's something to think about. Why is you so much breaking? Let me just break these things. Um, my condolences. Um, but yeah, that's a thing. I think that's everything so far, Cookie. Um, it's pretty good. Like you have a lot of things in there that are dashboard related, and you know, not necessarily something that I'm familiar with. So my advice in there is based on, you know, understanding and current understanding, but that's about it. Um, I feel like this is the same thing as on Monday. The way that you have built this thing with the icon being outside of the container because you have your text and chart being on the same vertical container like Flexbox vertical, and then the icon being something that is on the side of these two, you end up with that amount of space, which is not necessary. You could have these two together and then that one's spanning across, which, you know, like that thing, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me to not have. Oh, you have a fixed width. Why do you have a fixed width? God damn. I think it's the SVG. Anyways. Um, but yeah, that could be something that can be changed here. The other things just, again, I don't have enough understanding in terms of what this website is and what does it do, other than in my head it is just linked to hosting domain name and so on. So that's, you know, like that's about it. That's all I know. And so my limited understanding of what I have on OVH, for example, is the reference that I'm using. I fear there is a lot of information that you do need to display for the user, right? So a lot of stuff needs to be there anyways. Like you don't have um, a choice. It needs to happen. You need to have that many pages, that many sub pages, and that is just because of the nature of said data and said content for the pages, which is okay. But yeah, it's uh it's a lot. It's a lot of sub pages. God damn, this is killing me. That God damn. Why? I forgot if we have one um in the stacks of stuff. I feel like maybe something similar to Align UI, some of the presentations that we have might be referenced because we have like some dashboard related architectures in here. Let me just, can I just not do that? Uh, where's this? I doubt it. I mean, that's kind of the thing that I had in mind, but that's not exactly true. Um, that's kind of the same situation, right? Have a good rest of your day, props. Take care of yourself. Thanks a lot for the raid again. Appreciate it. And yeah, good rest. Dream of rejects. uh, yeah, no, these things are basically the same content, the same IDs, and you are using like it's basically a dashboard. Doesn't really matter. You are using the same patterns, and it makes sense. The hair is too fluffy. I need to cut them down. I hate it. I hate it. It pissed me off most of the days. So it's gonna go away at some point. It needs to. It is in need of getting away. Um, these ones are more like marketing related, but also like kind of similar. You can also see how boring these are. They are just single cards and they don't really create an interesting layout or anything. So yeah. Um, you pre-ordered food for tonight. That's crazy. That is crazy. That will never happen. I I don't think I would ever order food for the next day. That's that will never happen. I cannot decide what I will want to eat on the next day. That's so crazy. That's like if I'm ordering food, I want the food now. I don't want the food tomorrow. It's just that's just no. That's just a no. I'm looking at things, but it makes no sense. So let's just close these because it's not gonna help. That's crazy. But yeah, no, overall it's good. You misalignments here and there. Make sure that you have the same amount around your content, right? The one that pissed me off the most is this one. You can see that right away the bottom has less space than the sides. Just make sure that the sides and the bottom have the same amount of space visually or mathematically, preferably. But it doesn't cost much to do that, and it's just uh, it's just that easy, and then you can see how uneven that is. Why? Why is it not aligned? And switching stuff, so on. Everything else, good job. Everything else, good job. Your icons are aligned properly, your buttons are aligned properly right here, like that makes sense. There is hierarchy of information, and we have the things where they are supposed to be, so we do like it. These places are organized properly, even though we have like too much space vertically in some cards, not in all cards, but in some cards, it's a bit of a mess. Um, and yeah. Yeah, I mean, if the promo code or discount card or whatever thing you had was expiring and you needed to use it for sure, then yeah, why not? But I would never. I don't think I can. Don't think I can. That's weird. Why is this the only gray selector? All the other ones that we've had so far have been blue. You need to have something that is like kind of consistent across the app. So, blue. Blue would be useful. Um, I hope this is your bank account. And so if people try to send money here, it's going to go to you. I hope. And not the company bank account. Uh, but yeah. Uh, you mean the one that are this green and this green? Yeah, they are not matching. Dang it. Look at it. So much better. Aligned. But no, 4 pixels. Yeah, no, that green right here is a tad more saturated, specifically here, compared to the icon button circle as well. But then these ones are more of a blue tint than the others. So yeah, small details, but you know, right somewhere around here, and then that's the color green 400, so it's more green. It's a different hue. It's basically just a different hue. This one is more blue. Just a blue based. But yeah, there is like a lot of color inconsistencies in between the selected colors. Like the blue are different. And they are different across the boards. So that it's not the greatest option, but eh, eh, it's fine. If you want to get a bit better overall, um, as a potential, as a thing that could help you to build your layout and, have fun with it or whatever you want to do with it. let's say you have your cards that are like this, right? And you make sure that these things have a corner radius, which is like your current corner radius. I'm gonna do a weird one at 40. It's gonna be good. Your background is currently like a blue color and a very light percentage of transparency to match with the background that is behind. Just add one single CSS property to any and all of your containers. And that property itself is, in order to not break the design itself, is an inner shadow. So you add an effect of inner shadow in CSS. You make that at 0 in Y, at 0 on blur, and you make sure that this is a spread, which is the fourth value that you usually don't touch, but here you need it. You need a spread of the amount you want to have of spacing and padding around your content in each of your containers. So for you right now, it might be 16, it might be 24. I don't know. I'm going to use 24 for now. And so by doing 24 here, making that red at like 40%, by the fact that this is an inner shadow, it's just going to show me really, really quickly where things are with too much or too little padding. If I'm touching the red, I'm good. If I'm past the red, I have too little amount of spacing or padding. And if I have like a long distance before touching the red, then I have too much space in between. So that's something that you can really, really quickly do, and you would end up with a very good, a good enough like organization to just help you understand things. So these things, for example, if I add, I don't know if this one is going to be single, um, but I forgot if it's the shadow, box shadow or text shadow. I think it's box shadow. And then it's, no, yeah, I forgot how, I forgot how to write shadows blocks. Let me try that again. Mm. Yeah, you know what? That's the thing. That's the thing. Um, it's just one, sadly. I wish we had. Dang, yeah. So right now I'm at 20. So if I do 24, you can see how these icons are aligned with the space that I need it to be. So that's okay. But then this one is not. So you need to punch this one a bit to the right to give it like an alignment with these ones. And then I'm not touching the top, so there is too much spacing at the top and too much spacing at the bottom. And then these ones are way in. So, just bring it back in. That should be enough. So that's a very teeny tiny trick that will help to just have consistency across everything. And if you know that you have like multiple values of the spacing for cards, which you will, just create a Tailwind class abstraction, like a, I forgot the name, thing. where you just say, well, I need like an inset of 24, I need an inset of 16, I need an inset of 10, and just play with that, add things to your containers, and then you should be fine. Um, it will help so much. You'll see how also most of your things are already pretty good. Like if I just did uh, the exact same thing right here, can I just do that? And if I just did that on here, I guess I need this to be, yeah, somewhere around here. God damn. Right? If I look at this, you oh, bitch, not that. If I look at this, you're already really well aligned with everything. Like you have 16 on both sides. This makes sense. If you go inside of something, you have a bit of an indent, which makes sense. And you know, it's good placement. This one needs to be more visible, so it is visible when it touches the border and so on. And then when you go at the bottom, you're good. You have the same amount of things. Like everything is well made. But then there you have like some issues. So, you know, maybe just a smidge. Just a smidge. Mm. Other than that, yeah, no, you're good. And then the color inconsistency is a pretty fair point. It's also not supposed to happen when you have a predefined um like color set that exists. And because you're using Tailwind, you kind of are. So you should be good. But right now you're probably moving between emerald and green for some of the colors that you have. And even though they look similar, I would agree with that. Like when you are looking at them, we kind of, you know, kind of close. Um, but not this. So one of the things that we've seen before is basically you need to ensure that your color font. I'm talking about building a design system right here, which is not right, but yeah, you basically need to ensure that your colors have a purpose, your fonts have a purpose, and you have documented this somewhere in your design system, in your setup files, somewhere in a way that will just ensure that you will never have issues. So the reason why, in the first place, I go with Radix colors most of the time is because the color scale and the understanding of what these colors are supposed to be used for is basically there. So 1 and 2 are for backgrounds. 3, 4, 5 are for the interactive components. 6, 7, 8 are for the borders and separators. The 9 and 10 are for solid colors. And 11 and 12 are for accessible text on top of the components or the background. And it's predefined. So you will never see, unless you are making a mistake, but you will probably never see someone that is properly following these things use a 4 divider because it makes no sense. and they will probably never use a 6 for text that needs to be read. No, you want these things to be like accessible text, so you are going to use either 11 or 12 based on that scale. For you right now, you are left at the mercy of Tailwind and you don't really have defined stuff. So the red is just red and you use it wherever you want. So if at some point you have one of the devs that is defining that red 500 is for the alerts, and you come in and you're like, well, red 500 is a bit too dull. I'm going to use red 600 for this alert specifically, but you don't tell anyone, you will have inconsistency here and there, and that's not good. So documenting is good. It's annoying, but it's good. It's gonna help you in the long run to just say, well, um, you know, that thing specifically, the background, whatever, background color, is gonna use and is set and limited to these values. That's all we have. And that's it. It helps. So it's an abstraction on top of the abstraction. Specifically with Tailwind, it might become a bit more complex because you are going from color red to alert background, for example, or background alert for me, um, that then points to color red. So it's a lot of stuff like these here. If I go into my tags, my background active is referring to my slate alpha. My icon is referring to my slate solid 10, because that's something that needs to be like an accessible text on top of my backgrounds. And because we're using like the transparency layer, 1, 3, and 6. 6 is a bit too light, but it just makes sense on this case. And it's small additions, small stuff that you do, but you use the the token that is called background for the tags. It's just tags background and then tags icon and so on to give you the right thing. Whereas if you're just using the Tailwind stuff, you will end up at some point using your 500 instead of the 400, or the 400 instead of the 250. Specifically now that they have like the new values of the 50 and the 950, which didn't exist before. Um, or I mean, were not that prominent. It's a lot more work. So, but that's about it. Again, most of your things are pretty good. Most of your things are organized properly, and it's just bad because of what this types of software requires from you to get like all the data that the user is expecting to be in there and accessible. So I get it. I get it. Huh. I could have clicked on this. I thought that was switching between desktop view and mobile view. I was wrong. Which, by the way, I didn't check because I doubt you would have a mobile friendly interface. And I was right. So let's forget about it. You saw nothing. You saw nothing. Nothing in there. But that's the main thing. The other thing that I could say that also goes for Stony and other people that are in there, it's sometimes good to limit yourself when it comes to what you're using inside of um, your project and your product. So for me, what I'm building the Mom UI kit, right? That's what we've built. It's um, like it makes a lot of sense for me to have the broadest things possible with the least amount of specificities so that I'm letting you do whatever the fuck you want later. So you have all the colors, you have all the text, you have all the spacing, all the elevations, all the blurs and so on that are available to you so that you can just build with things. But if I were to use this as a as my base for product, there is a very high probability for me to remove 50% of the colors that exist, remove 75% of the fonts that we have when it comes to like the underline might not be necessary for the biggest one. Like we never have like an underline for a big title on the hero header. That's never gonna happen. So underline in italic might go away. So that's just limit the amount of things. And so limiting yourself in there will help you just get more consistent and avoid mistakes. So that's the thing. Um, yeah, I do agree with the fact that the amount of thing that you have to display on desktop is a lot. And so having this in on mobile makes sense to like, not have. I don't know if I have this or can show this or, the usual. Let me see. If you're someone that is using Stripe as a payment method and so on, you may be able to see things like Stripe is a very heavy dashboard on desktop, but also like on mobile. It's just the valuable data and some tabs at the bottom to just go through things. Um, so, you know, um, it's it's a thing. um, I think the Stripe dashboard is a pretty good reference for you to see what you can have and what you can strip out from your current interface and what is necessary to have on mobile and what is not necessary to have on mobile is something that would be useful. Um, Same thing. Why is this white? I didn't check that. Didn't say that the first time, but like this is supposed to be blue. Um, but yeah, going back to what I was saying about the the target audience that you will have on mobile is different than the target audience that you will have on desktop. And with that in mind, you can already change or kind of catered to the target audience for mobile to just give them the thing that they are really interested about in. Um, and maybe they just need to check like metrics and that's it. Because the probability of just adding a DNS CNAME somewhere on mobile from mobile, unlikely. Not impossible, but unlikely. And so having something that just say, well, you have all of your DNS zone things available here, and that's a view thing. If you want to edit them, it's going to be happening on desktop. But the more you do this, the more your user is going to be, well, if you're presenting the data and I can edit the data because I have a keyboard, why not just let me edit the data from mobile? And you will end up probably letting me do everything on mobile. So, depending on you and what you want to do, sometimes, can do stuff, can change how things are presented and so on. But yeah, um, what did you send me, Stony? You sent me some code, but I don't know what the code is. I mean, it's an image. I don't know what the image is. Is it just like my profile picture? That's the thing? The thing in question? I guess. Guessing that's it. Guessing that's the thing in question. Yeah, but you're sending me this for the thing that we had here, right? That section that was using Chromium preview thing, right? Which is not. That's not. Um, that's not really a Twitch issue. That was mostly like an Apple issue. So yeah, I think it's just how Apple just doesn't give a shit, and because it's not like um, giving it to you properly. But then again, I don't know. I don't know enough on this one. It really depends. It really depends. Anyways, we've had stuff. I've had some small stuff in the liked, as always. Not too much. Didn't spend too much time on this. Watch me scroll for 6 hours. Uh, on top of the stuff that we were talking about. So we stopped here. There was that was seen while we were streaming on Monday. Um, not on Monday. Yes, no, we saw that on Monday. And it's very simple. We talked about it. It's pretty nice. Anyways, moving on. Um, and we saw this one like last 2 weeks ago, I think, and it was not exactly the same. And now they have made some changes, which is pretty cool. Um, these things are interesting, and I just like them for the reason of the thing that I talked about last month. Proof. I said that some of the Korean designers were starting to implement a lot of glow for their elements, and I'm seeing this popping in other designers' stuff. And so this one is one of them, where their cards are glowing just a tad. Though what I have seen is that on here, it's not the card that is glowing, it's mostly like a drop shadow, which is a bit different, but it still adds some sort of a glow for the elements. So that's some of the patterns that we have to follow through and see soon. So that happens. It's pretty cool to see. In the good news, Jay has released the liquid glass on all browsers. So if you are someone that is interested in, adding liquid glass on stuff, I would highly recommend you to just check that out, and specifically checking the code pen of Jay for where it is and so on. But that's a good thing. That's a good reference. As always, Jay is pretty good when it comes to CSS. So yeah, that's a nice thing to see. Um, we've seen that before in terms of their presentation for the logo. It is very 2024, 2025 presentation, and you can kind of tell the years. So there is a lot of colors, there is a lot of bright colors. So I'm guessing this has been in the works since the mid of the year, like July, I would say. June, July is probably the initial start of their color definition because of how bright and vibrant they are. But the output is pretty cool, specifically that section right here. That transition of the ribbons stacking on top of each other with each of the words is pretty, pretty neat. But that's about it. That's about it. This one was really nice. I feel like this is the type of screen that are behind the Stream Deck keys. If not, maybe this is a bit bigger than what we have on the Stream Deck, and that's really cool. But that's it. That's all. That's all it is. Nothing else. Nothing else. Last, I forgot if it's last Monday or if it was last week. Similar. It doesn't really matter. We talked about the fact that this is something that we have had in Sketch that doesn't exist in Figma, and that's really sad. So, some of the thing that I do complain about regarding Figma's interface and Figma behavior is the fact that we don't have what is essentially native support for things. So CSS, REMs, percentage, other things don't exist in Figma, even though you can do that in CSS and it's the basis of CSS at some point. We have stuff that are named differently, which I'm complaining about a lot, like auto layout is just a flexbox, but it's a bit more than a flexbox, and it's not. It's interesting that flex or flexbox go through as Fox. Interesting. Uh, so it's an interesting thing where it doesn't really behave the same, where it has more properties than expected, and so on. And we talked about it because Sketch did have this since the beginning, I think, or at least since early, because I remember that when I was using it, where you could start a project for iOS or for Android or for the web. And based on that, the app itself would be intelligent enough to create some presets for the exports of assets. So if you were starting an Android project, it would by default give you some exports in 9 patches. If you started in, sadly, in iOS, it would give you by default exports in PDF, because at the time we could only use PDF instead of SVGs. Now everything is kind of mishmash and so on, and so everything kind of works. But for the sake of the argument here, this is something that I feel like we should have, where you define that inside of Figma, for example, let's say that this specific screen is the iOS app design. And therefore, on this thing, I want all of my export, all of my features to be tied to what is feasible inside of iOS. Which means that if I had stuff like, we have the blurs and so on, and if I said for some reason that instead of using the blur effect, we would be using the glass effect will only be useful and usable and available if you were on a page that is defined and usable for specifically iOS. And if you are on a page that is specifically for Android, you only have access to background blur because that's what Android devs would be able to achieve. So that's something that I'm hoping at some point some design tools, Figma or someone else, achieve. But just a quick reminder that Sketch used to do something very similar of providing presets in a way that just helps everyone to just move faster and do things properly. So, you know, we like it. We like it. This one was really cool. The main thing that is cool is the colors, but also the paper texture in the background is really nice. Um, it changes from the regular noise. It's a very organic texture. It looks pretty cool. These transition icons are really nice, and I feel like they have selected a very specific amount of icons that have the same amount of lines, so they can transition from one to the other. But yeah, it's neat. There is a bit of a glitch at the end, but that's fine. I'm not gonna complain much. I mean, I kind of am, but you know, you know how it was. You know how it goes. If you haven't seen this, you haven't been on the internet, it's fine. Magic OS 10 is the latest addition to Huawei or Honor. I think it's Honor. Creation of the OS, and it's a bit liquid glassy, just a smidge. Everything looks the same, everything behaves the same, and there has been like a lot of things other designers have been saying where we don't really care if people are copying like UI here and there. We just think that it's kind of weird that no one wants to be unique or have like a some uniqueness to their own interface and system and so on. So I understand that, you will probably grab some clients from Apple by saying, you have the same interface, the same thing, the same content, but better because the camera's better, the battery's better, and so on, and the interface is familiar enough. So you can grab them, and then once they are in the ecosystem of Honor, Android, and whatever, they would probably stay. I doubt, it depends. But, having something that stands out could be interesting. I think the only one that are doing that right now are Nothing. Nothing OS is, to my knowledge, the only version of Android that is just very much skinned to not look like the others, very minimalistic, and not saying that it's good or bad, but it's just like different. So, something. Um, this one was specifically based on what we said last week and showcasing how, I mean, not necessarily last week, last Monday, this thing right here. That effect that I did, that is the embossed version of an element, is the proper way of getting something off of the floor and feeling like it is part of the thing. Right here, if you look at it, it is just a cutout re-glued, and it's not how leather, because that's kind of leather base for the texture in the background, would behave. If you have ever seen an MS bag tag or something, like one of these, the leather itself has this kind of divot to it across the entire thing. So because the leather is pressed and it's going to be thinner in the center and regular size on the outside, there is a thing that is going in. So the highlight and the things needs to be properly made in order to get that feel, which right here isn't. Going back to what I've done, the way to achieve this without having any issues is basically by blurring the edge of these things. So the G would be blurred a bit, not too much, but a bit. And the circle would be blurred as well to just give that transition a bit more depth. And you end up with something that looks like this, that from afar is as if this was properly raised from the floor. And I'm not applying anything. I could do the opposite, right? Of making it like as a divot by just inverting the colors of everything. So the matter in there is just like you have something that was white, you make it black, and you just make sure that it's not like 100%, or at least doesn't necessarily like go that way. Um, but then, you know, basically that, but it needs to be less 100% and so on. And so, in order to get this to seem to be deeper, that's the only time where potentially something like a darker input would make sense because it's a divot, it's something that is inside, and therefore it is darker. So yeah, they've done that on this, but just the fact that it's
Sword DZ Styler is now following.
so sharp, that's the issue. Sword Styler, welcome on in. How are you? Who are you? How did you find the stream? Thanks a lot for the follow. I appreciate that. Welcome on in. So yeah, same thing here. Oppo has evolved with ColorOS. Aaron is doing the same thing as me, saying the exact same thing that I just said. And there is like a bit of a more interesting way of rendering glass from Oppo. I really love ColorOS. I've loved ColorOS for the longest time. It's really good. It's working great when you have a phone that is good. But again, I have been on Xiaomi and Oppo and Vivo and other phones for the longest time, and right now I'm rocking the iPhone by default. But still soft spot for these bitches because they're doing a good job, even though it is a copy of iOS. So that's the thing. We've seen these pop in, so these are pastels, usual pastel stuff, but you know, it's a nice addition. They are giving you a bit of an edge on the rims of the buttons instead of being like something that is flat or bobbly or so on. It has a bit of an edge, which is interesting. Same thing. This is a sharp edge with no bevel. Debatable, very sharp, but yeah. Shredder, hi. Welcome on in. How are you? How was the day? So that's an interesting thing. We do like it. These ones are pretty interesting. Show like mockups. Showreel, not really the point on this one. It's mostly like the mockups themselves. I've been seeing that deep one that I just missed. um, that one a lot lately. Like this one has been added by a lot of designers and used by a lot of designers just because it looks interesting, it looks weird, and therefore it's attention grabbing. It's interesting, it's good, but it's also like yeah, yeah. Please share a link or a page or something where you have it for sure. I need to go on Camden page first before I go on to their tweet specifically. So Camden has been doing a lot of things. We have been talking about them often, and they are doing a ton of illustrative things related to buttons and other elements that include weird addition. weird things. They have their whole button flow things, right, that we talked about many times, where you can just, see how talented they are when it comes to using Figma and so on. Their own website, and the thing that they have here, they are saying something that is pretty true. Of a lot of people would probably tell you that these designs are too much. There is too much going on. There is too much activities on all of the screens and so on. To which I kind of agree. There are some screens that have like too much things going on. It's a bit distracting for some stuff, but it's also what makes the website memorable because these aliens, these design choices, these textures, and so on are things that most other designers will never have. And therefore, when a potential client comes in and see that, they will be like, oh, cool, that's a very interesting thing that I will probably remember. You know, the thing that I'm pointing out here is not saying that Camden is bad, but mostly pointing out the something that just feels wrong to me. And it's these pluses that are inside of the containers and not to the cross paths of like where they are supposed to be based on, my personal preferences with these, and also the fact that these grids, when they are there, don't have a closing bracket at the end. So this one, same thing, not closed, and so on. This is really good though. But these corners not being like on the corner, I don't know. We don't really have anything um, so far. As far as I know, I don't think we do have that live. It Yeah, it kind of is there, but it's not necessarily there. Um, yeah, you know what? It's working. It's giving you what you're trying to achieve. Interesting that we only have one here instead of the. But I get it. I think it works. This one is really cute though. It does feel crowded. I do agree with that, which is basically his take in the first place. Um, it this one is eating and nothing's eating here. But it is memorable enough for you to just be like, oh, cool, I've seen that before. I've seen that style, something else. So I do like it. I think it's a memorable website for sure. And there are stuff in there that obviously I would have changed based on, placements and choices and other things. But like these are past work basically, and you know that's that's wrong, but it makes sense. Have a good rest of your day, Carl. Take care of yourself. Take care of yourself. Shredder, you can share a link in the chat if you want. That's not. It's not allowed. Ooh. Anyways, moving on. Uh, this one was funny to me. I was expecting it, but the fact that they wanted to try this thing in Japanese and then your language in English, and then that they say it's horrible, I'm expecting this. The reason, and that's basically what I said during the presentation of this thing, is you need the buds to listen to the person that is potentially not so close to you. So that's really complicated. And then you also need um, to let the sound go in, be processed, and go back into your ears, translated so that you understand what's happened. So the delay that it takes to just translate, like automatically translate stuff, is probably going to be really, really bad. And that's probably the reason why it's horrible. But I don't have more than that. No, that's a different system, which I don't trust. I don't share buds unless I have again, unless I have a pair of these, you know, um, in my bag somewhere, and I can just have that and say, well, here is yours, and I'm gonna, not give you mine that is dirty and used and so on. But if that's not the case, I don't think that's a good idea. So yeah, no, it's just like you press both at the same time for 2 seconds, I think, and then it triggers the listening experience and the translating experience. I haven't tried it yet. I was expecting, like, I think in order to make sure that it makes sense, I would need to do something like um, with a French person to check if it understand or if I can understand the translation and so on. But I don't think French is in the languages available just yet. So yeah, we'll see. The only thing that you have the option to do is if user A has the AirPods Pro 3 and user B has AirPods Pro 3 as well, you can have both basically communicate in real time ish. But yeah, not the best. Um, this one was funny. This one was just funny because they have Mark right there, and that's their clone stuff. Center to div is something that all devs struggle with. This one is really good, and they are telling or saying that it's made with Figma. I trust them because I've seen what they have done before, but this is really good. There is nothing to complain about. Why? There is a lot of textures that I'm expecting to be coming from external images, as in that brush metal is probably coming from outside. That plasticky, like molded plastic thing is probably coming from a texture, like an image texture. But yeah, it's really interesting. I just, you know, I wish we could have the link, but we don't. I mean, not right there. I don't know if they have their Figma link. I doubt it. I doubt it. Um, but it's the same thing as this, right? I think these are bait because this one has been made in Blender and or in Cinema 4D. I forgot, Cinema 4D, yes. And so there is a lot of them that are like just, ported and so on. But again, sometimes they are sharing these, and that's a lot. That's a lot of lines. That's a lot of lines. So, yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. This one was cool for the simple reason that this is the minimum viable thing that I'm doing every time that I'm creating a new UI kit. You just get like buttons, input, and some other things just because I can, like tags, for example, and that's about it. And it looks good enough. This is a very Apple E interface, and there is one thing that pissed me off, and it's this space here. It seems too small compared to the others. These ones are like kind of thick as well, but then this one is so tiny that I fear this would need to be that big to make more sense. But yeah, the rest is good though. The rest is good. The other thing is this one that I don't really know. Um, I mean, let me say that I do know that I'm not the biggest fan of it because I see the details and I zoomed in, and you shouldn't zoom in. If you're looking from far away, it looks really good. If you're zooming in, you end up in things that just makes no sense, or at least it doesn't make any sense to me. The fact that these edges are not like these are sharp, like these are sharp corners, and they are not like properly rounded elements, and that's really really sharp and so on. It makes sense for glass, but like the output is kind of crazy. It also reminds me of some of the thing that I'm doing that most people don't do, which is I am using a ton of in in shape elements and fills and so on, and not necessarily multiple layers. I'm not having like multiple shapes to create something. I'm using one shape and filling it out with a ton of stuff. So, like that's one single text layer and nothing else. And it just has effects and so on. I'm not saying that I could achieve this with one single text layer, but there is a lot of people that I'm seeing that are using a lot of layered elements on top of each other to achieve a result that could be done with simple or simpler things. Like the output, for example, the sides is something that I would do with um, yeah, radial gradients probably. So if I had like this color, for example, I wanted it to be shiny on the edges, I would probably just have like one white element right there and make it like from 0 to 100 in a radial manner, flipped, and then just placing it exactly on the edge and placing it like really, really like shy of what it is so that we have something that just is a light source coming from here and highlighting the edge of something and nothing else. That's a different way of building stuff. I'm not saying that one is better than the others, but it's interesting to see that a lot of people are using multiple shapes, multiple layers, and I'm using multiple fills and the least amount of layers just because it's easier to get in my head. So yeah, good stuff overall as always. But yeah, nothing more, you know, nothing more coming in. This one is something that we've seen last week, but yeah. Anyways, I need a pee. 1 second. Anyways. Anyways. Other than that, to be honest, not much. Not much. Um, I agree with that. I agree with that statement. God damn. If you don't understand what that means, um, basically even Apple themselves are using the wrong overlay on top of their new icon design, and that makes no sense. They have the radius added on top of the whole thing for the overlay when it should be a square element that just takes whatever the shape is behind, rather than having these animations based on shapes differently. It's weird. This is weird. But, it happens. It happens. Sorry. That's good. That's good. Ah, if in the box there is the cable, going back to what we were saying earlier, because we didn't see that. If there is a cable, we're good. We are good. I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it. Yeah, I think that most of it is pretty good. Hmm. Plays adding concentric corner radius. God damn, the brain is tired. That happens. So, you know, that's the thing. We've seen by the news that we've seen the fact that the updated version of Pinterest, I think since yesterday, it depends on where you are, but that might be something for you if you are someone that is using Pinterest. Since I think yesterday or 2 days ago, there has been a new settings in the settings, obviously, that is related to the Gen AI pins, and you can disable the presentation of Gen AI pins in on Pinterest, which is pretty cool. However, for some reason, I don't have access to that settings. I just saw some people say that and use that, and that's really good. But so far, I haven't seen anything, and I'm still filled with AI generated content on Pinterest, which is really sad. But yeah, that's a good news. I think that's a good news. I think the people that are adding um, all this, the nope, the the businesses that are adding AI omission toggles for the people that are not interested in or don't want to be part of it is a good thing overall, and it will help in the long run to just do stuff differently, and that makes sense. So yeah, we do like it. We do like it. Anyways, as I was saying, tomorrow I have an event. Um, I will talk about said event if I can on Friday. We'll see. I will do my best, and I'm not promising anything because I have a lot of doubts on this one. But I will do my best to potentially do some recording offset event if I can. I have my lapel mic charged up because it's been a while since it's been used, and my external battery is also charged up because it needs to happen. So that might happen. I don't know. We'll see if I can record stuff. I have doubts based on event noise and so on. There is so much going on, but we'll see. Maybe it's gonna be good. Maybe it's gonna be bad. I don't know. Um, that's where we are right now. If I can talk about it, I will talk about it on Friday. If I can't talk about it on Friday, we'll talk about it a bit later. I doubt that I will not be able, so it's gonna be a good thing. But yeah, that is the current situation. We don't know. You don't know. You have no clue. You have no clue. So yeah, that's where we are today, at least. And yeah, we'll see. We'll see tomorrow how it goes. Gonna do my best, and then it's gonna be fine. And then it's gonna be fine. So yeah. Anyways, I was about to raid fucking Finite, but Finite is raiding. Goddamn. Um, I think we haven't been on Pod stream in a long time, and she's doing nothing, so that's not necessarily your fun stuff. And Hellfort is live, so you know that makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. So let me send you to Hellfort. It's been like a week, I guess, and that's always appreciated. So yeah, I still haven't done that button. I should have, but yeah, as always, if you want to watch the VOD for some reason, it's gonna be on YouTube, which is highly appreciated. We are 42 away from being monetized, which is pretty cool. If you have a question and I'm not live, as always, the Discord is open and you can ask questions in there on design help and so on. I should be back on Friday, unless I'm dead. But yeah, as always, if you want to learn Japanese, Can is pretty good. And if you want to give me some money, you can sub, but you can also buy UI kit like this one. This is way more appreciated. You get something in return, which I think is much better. I reintroduced this thing at the bottom. I don't know if it works. I don't know how it works today, but I think it kind of worked. And so, Stony, you won. Congrats. Congrats on winning. I don't know what you won, but you probably won something. Depending if you send your link right now, Shredder, I can just go back, but we have like 20 seconds. You tell me. You have 10 seconds. Mm. Mm. Google Drive is a bit heavy. I stopped the raid. Go back there. You don't have a link or something? Mm-hmm. Don't have a link? Ask for a link earlier. You could share a link directly on the Discord if that's something that is uh, better for you, you know. Just draw something in there. Yeah. Again, if you have just a link to the image, that's going to be good. You can paste it right here. It's going to work. I'm canceling the raid, Stody, because Shredder asked earlier, and then I didn't see the link. So it was expected to do something on that logo, but like, I haven't seen it. So it was expected, and it didn't happen. So stop raid is interesting. At least that made me see that, the end screen battle is working, which is good, which is the goal. And you won. But yeah, post that in whatever design and help section so that we can have like, you know, just the image. It's gonna be fine. You should be good, right? Like that's not you have a fat ass leeway. You're in front a lot. So don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. You're gonna be fine. You're gonna be fine. That's crazy. Just drop the image. If it's just an image, just drop the image. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I mean, you are winning, and Cookie was getting a review earlier, so Hmm. 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 I don't know. I don't know. Did I do that? No, I didn't. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Um. Yeah. This one is supposed to be just a chat message, right? That's the one that I'm missing. All right. That's interesting. Hmm. It's interesting. There is some things that could be changed in order to like make it make more sense. Um, I would say that dot is something that will be memorable for some people, so that's interesting to have as a, a destructured thing. I would also have it um, on here for you know the sake of having something that would make more sense to me. Um, Let me see. And the other thing that I'm seeing personally is how even though the OSOM is readable in there, you don't really read the O itself. So based on how you have made your thing, you could simply just, on your first O, just have name. Just have the first finger be the O so that it's more recognizable as an O. So that's the first thing. Um, the other thing is that this two O's on the side might be a bit too much of the same thing. And it depends on, again, it depends on you as always and on what you're trying to achieve and so on. But if you have um, like if you have your container right there, that's not even the size, but like if you were to break your container positioning so that you're getting something that is giving you some more roundness in the center or in the edges or so on, you may potentially break and get something more interesting as an output than what you currently have. Not by much, but by something for sure. Um,
This is the book loving cult.
just to break the edges and be less of a block of square. That could be something. That's the first thing I saw or thought about. Um, and then the visualization is really good. Nothing to say on that. You have a pretty good overall understanding of the fist of the rock for this one. You might want to get something very similar S shape right there without having these teeny tiny things in. So maybe just make something that is even value for everything rather than having it like slimmer in the center. Otherwise, and that's something that you can do, you could use this as your base S and play with that inside of here. So what that means is your bottom section could take that shape right here. So you get, let's say that this is like your container. Right? They. So instead of having the one that you currently have, you could play with this so that you have like the palm of the hand, center of the lines right there that are represented right here, and then you can potentially play with this with somehow something like this. But even then, that's kind of, it's not necessarily going to work with what you currently have, but it could. Um, you break things here, you get your fingers. All of that is simply to get uh, to the value that you kind of want to have, which is like similarities in between the S's. That's option one. Option two is to get this one instead. So this one is easier overall. They Figma changed their shortcuts earlier this month, and that pissed me off. Kind of sad about it. So again, it's not the same, and it doesn't necessarily look exactly how you wanted it to be the first place. You might need to just like tweak things to get the right amount of spacing, get the right amount of presentation and so on. But at the end of the day, this is something that would be an S that matches what you currently have con compared to what the other one is. So that's an option. I do like what you have made. No questions. That's pretty cool. The other thing that you could do, and that's you know, it depends on you as always. Instead of having it this way, you could have it the other way. So you could basically just take this container right there and instead of having just that in the center of here, right? You could just do that. Small changes that doesn't make you have twice of the exact same thing back to back on the same site, right? Doesn't mean that it's a good ID or it's the right ID. Maybe you need to have like something that is a bit more fun, a bit different, or so on. But you know, a bit of change in here would make a lot of sense. And then I fear that this one is going to be read as an E on its side and not an M most of the time. Yes, probably, maybe. I don't know. At some point, one day, I have doubts. I have doubts. I could see this as a potential, right? Um, I could see this as a potential to give you more of an M shape. But then that goes back to what I did earlier, which is if you break your corners for all of these things, you will end up with something that just not make more sense, but just is probably more aligned with what you want. Um, shit. Again, I fear that this is too much for what you're trying to achieve. I fear that this is like not as good as before, and also bring a lot of noise on the logo itself. So that's a thing. But yeah, potential, simple, simple. I don't know, but potential for sure. you know, that would be optional. Um, yeah, but it works. I'm gonna say that the initial one that you have, going back to this because it's pretty good. It just worked. I I saw the fist right away. Like there was no question about it. The first thing that I saw was like this is the presentation that we have that makes sense. I recognize this, and it's cool. I saw this, and I had a bit of an issue with the S based on the fact that it's not there, and on the M because it mostly looked like an E and not necessarily an M. The difference with an M is like there is this thing in the at the top, but there was also something that we haven't done here, which is the fact that the M itself is usually shorter in the center, in which case, um, these are usually going to have some sort of a truncation. Or you would have like just a very dramatic triangle here, and that's also an option, but it's just like not. I don't think you have the right amount of slot on this one to reach where we need to reach. Yeah, that's not well, that's fine. But that's weird. But it works, but it's weird. Um, because you miss the bulky square version of this thing. So eh, debatable, but interesting nonetheless. But yeah, no, overall you did really good. I think it works. Your explanation is pretty good as well. Color scheme is something that is very much like uh, 2025 colors for this yellow specifically. This tennis ball green yellow is a very popular screaming color right now, which is good. Um, so that's something. And again, potentially having like an O that is a bit different is interesting. Potentially reusing the S that you had in the symbol could be interesting as well. Making sure that the O look like an O is a why not situation. And the last point is, and it's a bit more of a different one, the fact that you're presenting the M like this, you could present it the same way right here. So without having to, right here, I think I need to remove that as well. So if I just did that, that's dirty and fast, but if I just did that, um, God damn it, it better match this. It's not identical, but it better matches this thing, and therefore you end up with a recognizable M um, on both stuff. You could. Um, so I feel like these are bad though. The red one that I made are pretty bad when it comes to presenting this. I do like what you've done here for the simplicity of it. And the only thing that I would potentially add is, as I said, the kind of the dot needs to be there. So somewhere around here, even though it's not centered and it's off centered and it breaks the square section that you have, I feel like that could just make it better to match with this. But other than that, it's pretty good. Mm. Somehow that fucks everything, but that's fine. It's okay. Yeah, it's almost good, but it's not. That amount of space is not good enough. I'm trying to make it like a square, but it's not gonna work. Dabshi, hi. Yeah, welcome on in. How's the day going? I'm good. You missed a thing. I ended stream and then stopped the raid before it went through because we had a question. Um, yeah, I would say potentially that's the thing that I would attempt. Um, what? Yeah, I don't know. Might be less readable than what you have done. I feel like this is pretty good. Again, I think you did. I think you've done a really good job. I think some of these things can be changed to, small changes to not have twice the same letter. Small addition to really recognize this is an O. Um, and that's pretty nice. The other thing would be potentially to get like rounded corners if that's interesting to you, but that doesn't seem to be necessary. The pixelation is a pretty good idea to just break the corners and make it more interesting, but also it at a far distance it looks kind of weird. So I would understand you not going for that, and then the reusing the M inside of the hand inside of here to really get that transposition of content makes sense as well, but might not necessarily just work for what you're trying to do. So that's it depends. Maybe. Maybe. Don't worry, that's why I'm here. So, you know, that's what we do. Potentially. So if you want to take a screenshot of what I have right here, do so that you have a trace of something. The VOD is going to be on YouTube, so if you want to rewatch that section of the stream later, you can 100%. Now that I have a button, I can just press the button, which is useful. But yeah, to see like what I've pressed, what I've done, and so on, could be options. Could be options, you know, small stuff. But yeah, I think that's pretty good. What do you mean I got mail now? God. What the fuck is that? That is really good. Let me see if I can patch that through because goddamn. Oh, I don't think I can. I don't think I can because I have. Goddamn. So sad. Let me see. 1 second.
Observe, if you will, the designer in his natural habitat. Drawn irresistibly to the work of others, he begins to tinker, subtle at first, then bold, reshaping pixels with instinctive precision. It is not critique, nor sabotage, but compulsion. He must intervene. He must improve. Note the furrowed brow, the quiet muttering, the occasional sigh of triumph. This
I don't even know
behavior,
if you can hear
while
that, to be
disruptive to
honest.
the ecosystem of the original design, is entirely normal. And though the frenzy may last for hours, fear not, eventually, the designer will succumb to fatigue, retreating to his den for
It's
rest.
good.
Only then will the layout be left
We
in
like it.
peace, until morning.
Good job. That's okay. We'll go in. I'm about to raid someone, so yeah, you're all late. Basically, I submitted the app for review to Apple, and they rejected it because they were missing things, or there were some clarification that they needed related to the use of weather kits and the location system inside of the app, so that they just needed like some more clarification. And right now they haven't responded, so I don't know where we are on this thing. There hasn't been like anything related to my response to them, and you know, maybe it will come in later, maybe not, but we don't know. However, in the meantime, I worked on other things, and it makes sense. So, you know, um, it the good thing that I have right now is the only point that they stopped on and that they said we need to get like a review for this thing is or has been we don't know where you are using the weather kit and we don't know where you are using location. And therefore, we are asking you question about these things because they are required in the settings or required in the app bundle thing, but nothing else seems to have been flagged from their ends to, you know, be required or require me to change anything. So if that's the only thing that is missing, it means that the app is going to be really quickly validated and approved really fast because that's, you know, I'm just explaining, well, we're using weather kit here and location kit here. That's it. What do you want me to do? So if that's the case, then we good. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see when that happens. If that happens, the only thing that I've done so far is, I mean, done so far, not really, but like the only thing that I have added is um, today the addition of in the discovery view the layering base. So by default, it takes the last perfume you've worn, which is simple. And then if you go in there and you say, well, I'm going to wear this thing tomorrow, for example, I can have like some recommendation for tomorrow um, of what could be layered. But as I said, that wasn't the thing that I wanted to do. This is lengthy. Like, this is very long for something that is displayed on such a small screen for like the iPhone 13 mini. This is going to be way too much. So I'm going to need to rephrase that to the best of my abilities in order to make the thing make more sense. But yeah, we're going to see what I can do with this. Yeah. It's just fucking iPhone 13 mini that pissed me off. Which I'm doing on purpose. But you know, it's necessary. It is needed. So we're gonna see. We are gonna see. I could do that. I could do that, yeah. Um, we'll see. Anyways, I am sending you to Hellfort. That's what's happening. No one has questions, right? Right? No questions? We good? All right, good. So the VOD is gonna be on YouTube. And if you want to join the Discord to ask questions, join the Discord to do so. I shall be back on Friday if all goes well. I will talk about the event that happens tomorrow if I can, if I'm allowed to do so. And I'm going to try to do some recordings and other things tomorrow to make sure that we have something to talk about and to showcase and so on, which should be good. As always, we're going to see. And yeah, really simple. As always, spam from me to you at the end of the stream. And yes, Stony, I think you won still. I think you won on this one. Anyways, as always, eat something, drink something, be kind to each other, and I'll see you all on Friday. Bye.